niggas so sensitive. Man. Fuck your agenda. You ain't a real one. You's a pretender. See, this ain't about gender. This ain't shit but a fender bender. So why you acting all tender? Acting like Karen, Sharon or Linda. Nigga, facts over feelings. Fuck your feelings. We ain't the villains. And this ain't a drill. Gotta keep it real. Fuck how you feel. O'Shea ain't bootleg. O'Shea get the ooze. O'Shea off the Jose. With your bitch getting cozy. So stop being nosy. That's life. Shit ain't on rose. You niggas so sensitive. But I got no fucks to give. Not one. You niggas so sensitive. What? They used to call these nigga words. So what the fuck are trigger words? Words like his and hers. What's a pronoun and a verb? Follow this, then you follow back. Then you swallow this and swallow that. Then you go have a heart attack. And don't blame it on the facts. I put it on wax. Some blacks hate when you talk about facts. But you can talk about racks, you can talk about twerking, but not a nigga working. Everything ain't urban, just like this motherfucking whip that I'm swerving. So here's what a hoe should know. Don't be so emotional. You niggas so sensitive. But I got no fucks to give. Not one. You niggas so sensitive. Say, man, don't be a pussy all your life. Be a dick sometimes and get hard. You niggas so sensitive. Yeah. Why you acting like that, man? Acting off. You niggas so sensitive. You ain't supposed to be acting like that, man. All in your feelings. You niggas so.
Hey, it's TSLA, and this is episode 291 of the Orange Pill Investor. Somebody give me a signal in the chat that the frickin' video is actually working. Yesterday I went live quick and it didn't work. So, hoping I don't have technical difficulties today. I see K4 in the chat. Can you actually hear what I'm talking about? What's up, Damien? So I'm trying a couple of things today. Today I want to talk about the dip, obviously. Appreciate it. Thanks for the response, K4. So I'm trying to, besides just obviously the dip and how to take advantage of the dip, unfortunately, I don't think I'll be adding too many positions because Tasty decided to give me the old margin call. I had plenty of buying power yesterday, but I'm like, let me go ahead and just eat up. I had like hardly any margin. I'm like, let me add a few little positions here. And I funded most of it with like 100 shares. I figured since the price was low, I would sell my shares and go leverage long on some long calls. Instead, however, when I woke up this morning, Tasty apparently did not like that very much, which is a fine ass thank you because I just posted Tom Sosnoff's interview with Pomp. I was stoked. He's basically, if we have an NFL coaching tree, basically I studied under him, not directly. I never met him in life, but I watched hundreds of the Tasty Trade videos. I don't know, maybe 1,000 at this point. So I'm more of the sell volatility option seller philosophy. But of course, MicroStrategy has flipped me completely upside down and turned me into buying volatility all of a sudden. But let's go first things first. They gave me the margin call. So basically they don't want me to use margin. I have I have like one Tesla position, everything else is MicroStrategy, and they don't like it, not one bit. I did run into a little bit of concentration risk error when I was trying to add positions yesterday, but I thought, oh, I was pretty comfortable. I mean, I had like, it's all fake numbers, but my buying power was like, I don't know, it was 500,000 or something stupid, which is all just smoke and mirrors. Like, I literally had negative money because I was using margin. So I have to do something about this. And I think I'm just going to exit this Tesla position and just double down on concentration risk. This is just going to be all MSTR, right? So that knocked down like 1/8 of it. So what kind of decisions do I have? I can either sell off positions, right? How many shares would it take? 200? Why do I not have... Oh, I'm trying to buy Tesla? That's dumb. I thought I clicked MicroStrategy, and I want to sell. So, dumping that... It's hilarious. So it's going to give me an $86,000 credit, which totally makes sense. That's, the exact share price. So that should dig me out of my $57,000 margin call hole. But it's it's not just going to give me the 57,000 back or the 86,000. Now they're going to say I'm okay to be on margin again. Freaking liars. Oh, that was a new Ice Cube, by the way. My buddy put me onto that, so that was a special request. And he said he likes tracks 2 and 3. I can't remember. There was one of the collab tracks. I can't remember if it was 6 or 7. I thought it had the hardest beat so far. I'm about halfway through that one, but that one was a collab, so it wasn't just Ice Cube rapping on that one. But that does bring up a good question. Why are y'all so sensitive? Why is that? Anyway, so this, I could give myself just, dig myself out of a margin call by selling off 200 shares. That would also give me about 30 grand worth of buying power to load up on some more leverage. But let me see if I want to try that little sneaky trick somebody told me about. And I'm just going to go down here to the $50 puts for June. And these will basically protect me all the way through June, and they're 210 days to expiration. So I could treat these like long calls. I always buy long calls greater than 90 days to expiration. Kind of always. I did YOLO into the January long calls and kind of broke that rule, I suppose. But I could do the same thing with the puts. I mean, all the principles are the same. The farther out in time you go, the lower theta is. So I could hold on to this for 3 or 4 months, and just buying one of these, right, only cost me $180, but it's going to get me 4,600 in buying power. So my assumption, let me just see what happens. I'm just going to buy one. If I have to turn it right around and sell it, it's not that big of a deal, right? So let's check my margin call first. Margined 57,356, basically 57,400. So let's buy one. This trick worked right before earnings. So yeah, so my margin actually went up. I'm because I made a purchase, so I'm actually borrowing more from them, but my buying power increased by like 4 grand. So let's just do that again, and we might as well get like a lot. I can't remember if it was a lot, 10 or 20. So let me get 19 of them. Try to pay a little bit under the mid price. Okay, let's, where is it? Okay, so I am going to have to pay a little more, which is fine. All right, so no more margin call. I'm still using the same margin. Well, I'm using more margin. I just paid whatever the hell I just paid. $2,000, $4,000. Yeah, 20 times 200. So now basically my 1,500 shares and like these 5 leaps are all covered. These long calls. Wait, why do I have 20 June? Oh, these are the puts I just bought. I got confused. I'm not used to seeing puts. I got a long line of C's and 1P. And then, all of this stuff is uncovered. All of these long calls. Maybe not that one. That's part of the spread. There we go. All that stuff. Okay, so the other thing that I'm doing, I'm actually sharing my other screen. There's a bunch of people that were complaining about the resolution, like they can't read this stuff. And to be completely honest, without my glasses, I couldn't read it either. But I was sharing my laptop screen, and I have a second monitor that's a little bigger. But so it's going to be interesting to see if the resolution on this screen actually carries over to people trying to watch the videos. But I also sprung an extra $20 a month for the 1080p, so maybe the resolution will be better as well. We'll see. You guys can let me know if this shit makes a difference. But one of the commenters was like, you said in your video this option here, and then you pointed to it with your cursor, but I can't read any of the information. So no idea if this is going to be any better or not. Like, just because my screen is bigger, if somebody's watching it on a smaller screen, it's not gonna help. So I don't have any idea if this is just playing the shell game and doing nothing. But anyway, so those are my options, right? I could have just deposited money if I had cash in an account somewhere. I could have done that, or potentially I'm still using a little bit of margin here. So, Tasty Trade will let you transfer money from account to account. This is the joint account. I don't want to touch that one. We might be not closing it, but this was money that we borrowed from my wife's retirement because you can't self-direct into MicroStrategy, and it pissed me off. So we borrowed a bunch and basically invested in MSTR with it instead of, it was like Vanguard's shitty mutual funds. And then this is a cash account. So with Tasty Trade, I could go into their little Manage Money app and I could transfer money from some of these accounts to the other one if I had any. Of course, I only have $100 here, so I'd have to sell positions one way or another. But this, I like this idea because I loaded up on these January 16th, right? I spent like 32, yeah, like 48 grand on these yesterday, trying to buy the dip. And, I don't want to just have to turn around and sell them. And I didn't really want to, I already sold 100 shares. By 2025, I'm trying to add shares, not lose shares. But when the price is down, that's when I personally want to take leverage. So actually, it wouldn't hurt my feelings to sell shares and buy leverage at this point. But I thought this was a nice little sneaky trick where I can use basically the same amount of margin use, but I've basically fully insured like 2,000 delta with this. And it's crazy how the algorithm works because I've only insured the price at $50. So this is only just saving me from going from zero. So I don't know how the algorithm works, but for $4,000, it's fine, right? It's fine not to have to deal with a margin call. And technically, I can even go and add some more positions if I want to. So, I love Tasty Trade, but a little annoyed that that I had to actually buy insurance. Buying insurance kind of pisses me off. So, with all of that bullshizzle out of the way, I don't know. Let me just see if I do want to pick up an. Oh, here's another thing. So, Grain of Salt mentioned something that was extremely important, and I thought it was going to be very important for me, but depending on my tax situation, it might end up not being. So, he basically was saying, look, because when you quit your job or whatever, and the only income you have is your trading income, then if you want to go buy a house, you have to basically submit your tax forms and all your trading history to them and say, look, I make money every year. So that I thought, oh crap, I need to make sure that I'm taking profits in 2024, 2025. And so I picked up these 2026s that would give me the flexibility to take profits in 2025 if I wanted to, or I could hold these to expiration and take profits in 2026. That way I'm demonstrating profits consistently year over year. Then I did a little bit more research. And of course, none of this is financial advice because I'm not a financial advisor, but it's also not tax advice because I'm not a tax professional. But what I think I learned is that once I flip, when you set up your trading account, you can put like first in, first out, last in, last out, I think. But I think there's another setting for professional traders where it treats your account as if you opened your positions on January 1st and you closed them on December 31st. So there's no like, oh, I need to keep this for over a year so I can get long-term capital gains taxes. No, all that shit is out the window because you're just going to get your calculations from January 1st through December 31st. And I think that's going to open me up for some other tax benefits, like some stuff that you wouldn't be able to claim as like just dabbling in the stock market. Like if it's your actual job and that's what you do for 8 hours a day, then I think you get to treat it more like a business and you get little tax benefits there. But the other thing that I think happens is I think they just start treating your income, they start taxing you like regular income instead of having to worry about the whole long-term, short-term crap. So it may not matter for me whatsoever. I got to do a little bit more research on it, but adding these 2026s, I'm still glad I have them. I think they're great. But I don't necessarily know that I needed to jump through that hoop and demonstrate annual profits tax year to tax year if I change my calculations over to this professional trader status. So, with all that being said, let me just check the chat real quick. You said, I met him last week in Dublin. He's even more fun in real life. Are you talking about Pomp or Tom? Oh, Tom. Holy shit, Tom from Tasty Trade? Dude, that is awesome. He said he gets up in the morning. He said in that interview, he gets up in the morning and that's when he feels the freshest. So he just responds to emails. I actually emailed him and he responded. And I was kind of like, I wonder if that's just his handler. Like, he has somebody answering his emails. But I really liked that Rising Star segment. And I thought, I emailed him. I'm like, someday I'm going to be on get interviewed on your Rising Stars episode. And he's like, hey, I'm rooting for you, whatever. And then like a year later, 2022 hit and I shit the bed. My account just got wrecked. So that put a cigarette butt out on my hopes of getting interviewed on Rising Stars, but maybe I have a chance again. But yeah, that would be cool to meet him. Russ says, looks like Buffett bought some MicroStrategy bonds. Oh, and then never mind. K4, what do we think about this news? the chat feature doesn't really let me. I guess I could copy and paste this into a browser here. Okay, but it says CBOE to launch the first cash settled options product related to spot Bitcoin beginning Monday, December 2nd. No shit. That's different than IBIT options? Let me see if I can follow this link. First cash settled index options related to the price of spot Bitcoin. Dude, I've been waiting for this. This would be awesome. Interesting. December 2nd. Okay. I am on the edge of my seat because I checked out the IBIT stuff, and maybe I'll just go over IBIT. We'll see if we have time. That'll be the dessert if I have time to go over that. So that's very interesting. K4 says, is that going to be the scam how market makers hedge the gamma exposure? Huh. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how they play the tricks they play. But some of us were grumbling a little bit yesterday that was like hedge fund short FUD. Who knows? NC says all good, thank you. Matthias says, is it a settlement time issue like from the sold shares? I don't think so, because the settlement is only the difference between 60 and 6,000. So the only part that's getting settled is the $6,000 that I literally just purchased today, probably. We'll see. Yeah, if I wake up tomorrow or the next day and I get all my buying power back, then maybe I can just sell those puts back. Not sure. All right, Peter says just past 1,000 shares MicroStrategy purchased. Hell yeah. Let's fucking go. Exactly. All right, so do I want to make some purchases with this buying power that I've frickin' conjured and manufactured out of thin air with voodoo magic? Okay. Let me just take a look at this call debit spread first. I bought these for like 700-800. Let's just see what they close for. Barely a little bit of profit. Yeah. I think I could have doubled or tripled up on these. I peeled off enough that the worst I can do is break even. So I'm just gonna hold the line on these. I used. Oh, you know what? Now that I think about it, I had some downside protection because I had like 5, 6, 7 covered calls on, and that was all offering some downside protection. So now once I dumped those covered calls, I wonder, you know what? Let's put on a pretend to put on a covered call. I'm not going to go through with it, but let's just say I'm throwing in, it doesn't even matter because I'm going to cancel it, but I'm going to throw in a 6. No, that shouldn't be it, because this isn't giving me an increased buying power effect versus the credit. I thought maybe I was going to see like, this is going to cost me $7,000, but my buying power effect might be like 10 or 14. Like if they're saying, oh, you're adding some downside protection here, so we'll give you a free pass for having irresponsibly long tendencies and just having an account full of MicroStrategy and nothing else in it. But that's not the case. So I thought maybe that would explain it. That ain't it. And maybe I won't push the envelope in this account since I'm already using a ton of margin. But I'm only using... Nah, but this account's not big enough to absorb a large play. So this is the one that Climbed the Ladder was talking about the other day, and I went ahead and jumped into it. It's this call debit spread here. And there's a bunch more strikes available. So I'm tempted to just jump right back in to this one. And let's see if I sell the 1080. Actually, I don't even think I have to go that high. Let's go 900, 800. It's going to be a $10,000 max profit since there's $100 in between the strikes. And again, this is going to cost approximately $6. And the delta on the inside or lower strike is 0.4. So they're kind of estimating that there's a 40% chance this will actually go in the money. And if that's the case, then this should cost 40, not 6. Now, granted, you can take the 40 that I'm buying and subtract the 36 that I'm selling, and that's 0.04, which kind of makes this more accurate. But you actually start making money past the break even, which is just what you paid for it plus the lower strike. So the break even on this thing would be, if I bought it for 6, would be 806. So it doesn't even have to go to 900 to profit. It has to go to 900 to collect max profit. But I think, you know what, let's arrow it down and see how cheap I can get it though. What's the highest strike? That didn't get any cheaper, did it? Let's go 800, 900. Okay, that got a little cheaper. But I don't know that that's worth even bothering with. Where'd it go? Okay. You know, obviously, if it's a closer strike, it's easier to get to that number. So let's go, scrolling all over the friggin' place. Let's do 800, 900. Which ones do I have now? I've got 660, 760. So how many of these do I want to add? 10 would be like 6 grand. So I don't need to go too crazy. Let's just add like, you know what? Let's just a little nibble. I'm going to do 2 of these. That way I can close one for double if it goes up. I'll close one for double, and I like that because that's then the worst that I can do is break even. So let's try to pay a little bit. And I looked at some earlier too. You know, just doing a $10 wide is so cheap. But if you look here, the bid-ask spread is so jacked up, it might be hard to get fills here. So, you know, I could get 10 of these, or I could just buy one of these. All right, let me try 550. Wait, I thought I chose... Okay, so I'm trying to get 550 debit. Oh, yeah. Okay, so it's going to reduce my buying power by 700, even though it's only going to cost me 550 for some reason. Okay, I did not get a fill and did not expect to. Oh, but you know what? I was going to do 2 of them. Is it going to let me increase the number? No. Okay, let's just clear it and start over. I'm going to buy the 800, sell the 900. Results in a debit. Let's do 2 of them. Let's try to just get it for 6. Nope. Why do I still have that one pending? 620. Can I get a fill? No. Let's go 650-ish. All right, if this goes too much over 7, I'm not liking the liquidity on this. Hmm. All right, 750 is as high as I'm going to go, and otherwise, if this is too much trouble even getting a fill, then I'm a little bit worried about getting a fill to exit the trade, even if it's profitable. So I'm just going to let that sit there. As a matter of fact, this will either fill or not, but I don't want to go too crazy with this and overpay if the market's not being liquid for me. All right, should I add another long position, something cheap like in January? It's going to cost me all the way at the top of the chain. $5,000? Yeah. Interesting. Let's pick up one. I can't help but buy the dip here. Just something, anything. Walk up the price a little bit. Okay. The market makers are just spitting in my face. I'm wondering if my connection is jacked, if I'm having this much trouble. Getting a fill. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot over. Okay, so the ask is 53, right? So if I literally smash the ask, okay. For God's sake, if that didn't fill, that was going to start to piss me off a little bit. All right. Added one position. Kind of just can't help myself on a dip. Not that it can't dip again. I mean, it can go to I'm not a big TA guy, but support is like 270. Oh, I'm sorry. No, support is probably 380, which is why we bounced off of it. So we got multiple points of we've got previous resistance and we've got support here for 370, 380. But below that, it's like 320. And if it drops below 320, it's 270, which would be fucking brutal. I don't know what I'd have to do to rescue my buying power at that point. It might get ugly. So let's just check. Do I have anything expiring today? No. Nothing else to do here. The IRA. I think I didn't get here in time to close something. I don't know if it was in this account. It might have been on one of my other two accounts. But these covered calls are getting wrecked. Nothing really for me to do here. Even this one is getting wrecked, even though it's not at 450. But I think I'm just going to let those ride. I've got 4 covered calls. I've got 300 shares and 2 leaps. So 5 total, I guess, increments of collateral that I could sell covered calls against. And I'll wait for the price to go back to like 500 before I add one more covered call. Let's take a look at the joint account. Again, I've still got the CLSK call debit spread that I set up for the lulls, just for the video. And it's still just haunting me. All right, I got the 100 shares. And I got 1 leaps. 0.78 delta. So this qualifies as covered call material. And I've got 1 covered call on. Really? I went all the way out to... Wait. No, sorry. This is a long call. Yeah, my bad. For some reason, I was thinking I sold that one. So I must have had time to close all my covered calls. Oh no, my bad. Here it is. I misclicked this one. Yeah, so I'm getting wrecked on this one. Sold the 450 for 1400, and if I wanted to buy it back today, I'd have to pay 10 grand. So I'll probably do nothing here and just let this long, leaps not necessarily get called away, but I'll close this together with this position if I have to for profit. All right, my allowance. I have 1 covered call against 1 leaps. I formed this poor man's covered call. Again, this covered call is getting wrecked, but the long call protects it. So even though I'm no longer making money past 450 on this covered call, it's completely insured by this long call. So I think nothing really for me to do here. And let's check the 5K account, which I'm going to turn into I guess just a year-long challenge, because my goal was to turn it into 25K in 4 years, and it only took about 9 months, 8 months. So now I need a new challenge. I guess I'll just see what I can turn this into over a full year. From March to March would be a year. We'll see how high I can get it. I think by March, I bet you 100K is probably not out of the question. I think 50 for sure. So that'll be fun. But I do have 3 puts that I sold because I took some profits by selling what? Where's the covered call I sold? There we go. I sold this covered call here for like 4 grand. So I'm like, all right, I got buying power. I'll use that extra buying power to sell puts in CLSK. I sold the 13 strikes. Now they're, I can buy them back for almost nothing because the price went up, not down. So I made $45 basically on 1,300 of collateral. To make 1% would have been $13, right? And I basically made 3 times that, 4 times that almost. So made about 3% returns in a week on each one of these. So that's decent. It's not MicroStrategy returns, but $20 is $20. Same thing with this Riot. Oh, I have a 15.5. Oh, this is the call. Let me deal with the Riot. Did I sell Riot puts too? No, maybe not. Oh no. I only had enough to do the CLSK. And it looks like I've got some cash buying power. Like the 30K again, this is fake news, just like in Tasty Trade. This is probably closer to what my cash balance really actually is. But I've got one covered call, one 15.5 strike covered call expiring today. And again, I can buy this back for next to nothing. That frees up that collateral. But let me just check and see what else I have. I think I went out to 45 days on these other ones because I have 300 shares. I still have two 13 strike covered calls for December 20th. So those are getting wrecked. These shares are getting called away. So let me go ahead and sell another covered call. Let's do a weekly. The price is $14.40. So if I collect 10%, or if I allow for 10% call away value, that's $1.50 plus $14.50 gets me to about 16. So if I sell the 16 strikes for next week, I can, if the price goes up to 16 or higher, I can collect all of that value plus this extra $70. And on $14, $1,400 of collateral, 1% of that would be 14, and $70 is like 5%. Good Lord. I'm going to collect 5% on the premium, and there's 10% call away value. So this is pretty insane right here. The premiums, even on the mining stocks, is pretty nice right now. And of course, they're going to squeeze me for every little frickin' penny. So let me put this down to 0.69. Cha-ching. Let me look at all of my other positions first, and then with some extra buying power, I will probably sell some more cash secured puts. So how many of these do I have? Is it just one? Yeah, one contract. So I'll buy this back for 2 cents, which we're talking options here. So everything's times 100. So this is actually $2. This is going to free up 100 shares of collateral. I've got 700 shares of Riot. I've got 5 $12 calls and one $13 call. So if the price keeps going the way it is, these will all get called away. But since I have 700 shares, that means I can sell one more covered call. And just to be clear, I am a Bitcoin maxi, so I like Bitcoin derivatives just in general. I prefer MicroStrategy if I can afford to trade it. But of course, since I set up a 5K account, I really couldn't just trade MicroStrategy at first. So the next best thing I had available to me were the mining stocks. IBIT is now available, and maybe I'll take a look at that if I have time. But I reviewed it the other day, and I think the IBIT options are kind of trash. Like, I wouldn't trade IBIT over MicroStrategy if I can afford MicroStrategy. However, I did find one strategy that I think doesn't suck ass with IBIT. So if I have time, maybe I'll review that. Otherwise, I'll do it next week. So Riot is $12. If I try to build 10% call away value in, that's $1.20. So that gets me to like what, $13.50. So if I sell the $13.50 for 43, that is, let's see, 1% would be 12. And this is about 3.5 times that. So that would be about 3% returns for the week, plus 10% potential call away value. Let's put this in for 41 so we can get a freaking fill and go about our day. Thank you. All right, I don't have anything else that expires today, so that's good. Let's check the buying power because I closed 3 CLSK puts. And when does my covered call expire? December 27th? Yeah, plenty of time left on that. No need to do anything there. So let's take a look at CLSK and let's sell some more puts for next week. I'm expecting my other shares to get called away, so I need to start running the other side of the wheel. I like to sell at the money cash secured puts for the most premium if I don't mind owning the stock. If the stock drops 50 cents, then I'll just own it at $14 a share. Completely fine with that. Again, this 10K buying power is a big fat lie. But I sold and bought back 3, and I gained a little bit of money selling covered calls, right? So I should be able to afford 3 of these again without getting myself in too much margin risk. All right, let me try to get paid a little bit less. Let's go wait. The mid price is 0.99, so let's try to get 0.97. Probably could have got 0.898, but there we go. We got fills. All right, so let's check my buying power and see if it's telling me that I'm using margin. Let's refresh. I don't know if that's true. Margin enabled and ready for use, and it's still saying see this is crazy shit. It's saying that I have more individual cash available than when I started. Didn't it say like 3,000 before? But supposedly now I just spent 4,200 on three CLSK puts. Doesn't make any damn sense. All right, let me check these chats real quick, and then you know what? I'll do the IBIT. I'll do the IBIT first. So I didn't like. It's not IBIT. I didn't like the premiums on these IBIT options, but I did find one strategy that I think I don't hate, and it's poor man's covered call strategy. And the reason is because you want to buy long calls when they're cheap and you want to sell calls when they're expensive, but in a poor man's covered call, you have to buy a call and sell a call. So if the options prices are high, they kind of cancel each other out, and the options prices are cheap, they kind of cancel each other out. So if I buy the $30 leaps, and then I go out here to approximately 45 days to expiration, and let's see, that cost me about 33. So if I go up to at least around like the 65 strike, or maybe the $60 strike, let's just see. The calculation for this is to see if this is a relatively safely constructed poor man's covered call. You take the short strike minus the long strike, that's $30. Then you add the premium that you're getting paid, so that would bring it to $37.70. And as long as as long as that price is above the cost of the long call, that should create a chart that looks like this with a nice chunk of green here and a very low, not steep slope here, because you want to be able to. You don't want this to turn red for any conceivable Bitcoin price. Like if this goes to $100 a share next week, something like this should still be constructed well, where you could close both of these legs together and not take a loss. And if we look at this, generally on these 45 days to expiration ones, I don't expect to collect this full value. I generally assume I'm going to collect half every 2 weeks. So 360 divided by 4, just for easy math, is 90 cents a week. And if I was collecting 1% on the value of this, just selling regular covered calls, it would be about 0.56 a week. And 0.9 isn't quite double that. So, maybe 1.5% a week returns would be a reasonable expectation. They're not promised. But 1.5% a week is like 70% for the year, so that doesn't really suck. I'm not going to do this because I just don't like ETFs in general, and since I have other things to trade, I just prefer not to pay people management fees. I generally think if I'm paying someone else to do what I could do, then I'm gonna underperform, unless they just do it better. But that's my thinking. Adrian messaged me like, "Hey, let's talk about these IBIT stuff," and I was like, they're poop. But I was like, well, wait a minute, this could, maybe not suck, and that's the best that I could come up with for these ETF options. But I think that just proves that these ETF options are bullish for MicroStrategy, because none of these other stocks can really compete with the premiums that can be collected with MSTR. The volatility is just insane. So MSTR options are still the king, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So that's all I've got for now. Let me check the chats, and then we're going to call it a day. All right, Yup says, do you see a call repricing if Saylor announces a massive Bitcoin buy again on Monday? Do you mean repricing of the call prices, or just that the stock will move? Because I've even said this myself. Like, I woke up and the call prices were like up 50% from the day before, and I was like, holy shit, did they reprice the options? But that's not really the way to look at options prices. Options prices are no different than the stock prices. If I want to buy shares of MicroStrategy, sorry, let me look at right. If I want to buy, the bid and ask spread is from 438.26 to 438.45. So the price of MicroStrategy is the combined buying and selling activity of everyone in the market. And the options prices are no different. So if I want this 430 strike, there are people bidding 140.25 and 143.40. So the price of these options is set by all of the combined buying and selling activity in the market. The market makers can provide liquidity here, and you could argue that if they provided more liquidity on one side or the other, they might be able to manipulate the price to a certain extent. But I don't know, that might be conspiracy level type shit, and I don't know how effective that really is. But I don't think they can really move the market in completely just invisible hand sort of way. And so really, we've got all these options Greeks, right? And it seems like, oh, well, if we put the delta and the gamma and the theta and the vega and the implied vol, and we stick it into the Black-Scholes model, it'll spit out the price. But that's not how it works. You actually put in the Greeks and the price, and it spits out the implied vol. So the implied vol going up doesn't increase the options price. The options price is going up, screws around with the implied vol. So yeah, I don't necessarily know about as soon as he announces another Bitcoin sale, like, the price will probably do something. I'm bullish, so I'm hoping it goes up, but I don't think that's gonna just be like, oh, okay, the market makers saw this announcement and now they're just gonna go out and change the prices of everything. I don't think that's how it works. All right, George, what's up, George? He says, I don't think Schwab counts cash secured puts as using the cash until they're assigned. Interesting. Robinhood definitely does. And Tasty Trade does as well, because if I wanted to put together some kind of credit spread with a cash secured put, like a put credit spread, I definitely get charged the collateral for that put, plus another little fee for however much the long put costs. Damien says, would you sell a put right now to help pay for a covered call? Would I sell a put to pay for a covered call? The puts and the covered calls are approximately the same amount of profit. So if I'm going to sell an at the money put, that's $1,000. And if I sell an at the money covered call, that's $1,000. Some people really prefer one side of the wheel over another. Unless you mean, would I sell a cash secured put to buy calls with? I do that all the time. Yeah, I mean, I'll sell covered calls weekly or at 45 days, and then I'll go out and buy, leaps or something out 180, 200 days, 365 days. That's basically a calendar spread. So I'm selling my covered calls 45 days to expiration and under when theta is high, and I will use those profits to buy long calls or shares. Russ said, I tried this the other day. I was short about 14K. My margin would not cover it. I thought it would. Yeah. I don't know how they figured that shit out. Aaron says, just wanted to thank you for amazing info you are sharing with us all. My pleasure. I'm glad someone enjoys it. All right, a couple more comments and we are freaking out of here. And C, when you place orders for options, do you place market or limit orders? Limit orders. Like with with Tasty Trade, I'm basically choosing, they'll give you, here's the bid ask spread, and I can choose the mid price if I want and try to get a fill here. Order type is limit. I could switch it to market if I just wanted to immediately fill, but if it's a really, really liquid position, it's probably not a big deal to do market orders. But I was talking about Tom Sosnoff earlier, and I remember one episode where they were talking about market or limit orders, and him and his co-host were talking, and both of them probably have a combined frickin' 60 years of experience. I don't know, 70 years of experience. And they were like, oh, have you ever made a market order? And he was like, no. Have you? Like, nope, me neither. So these guys it's just automatic for them. I don't know if that's a professional traders thing. Sometimes I'll use a market order, especially in Robinhood, if I just, if I don't have time to screw around. But you can see that I'm trying to squeeze every little penny out of this sometimes, right? I pay a little bit, and then I walk up the limit order to a little more and a little more and a little more until I finally get a fill. That way I can get the absolute best price possible. All right. That is the last question. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm glad the frickin' screen share actually worked this time. So be good, y'all.